Hi, this is Kat with Beadaholique, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make the Rose Montee right angle weave bracelets. Now these are exclusive Beadaholique kits, and we have 6 gorgeous varieties here for you to choose from, and these feature check glass fire polish beads with Preciosa Rose Montees and a strand of Toho seed beads down the center, and we finished it off with a magnetic clasp for easy wear. So what you'll receive is you'll get your 4mm beads here, your Rose Montees, your seed beads, your magnetic clasp, and then you'll also receive your fire line and a pack of beading needles. What you'll need to provide yourself is a pair of snips, a thread zap, or a pair of scissors. So if you have all your supplies ready to go, let's get started. So to begin, we are going to take our fire line here, and this project will use about 4 to 6 feet, so go ahead and get yourself a good length. You can always tie off and add more thread if you want to. And I'm just going to snip that off. Open my pack of beading needles here. There we go. And go ahead and thread my needle. All right, so now I have my thread ready to go. And to begin, I'm going to start by picking up 4 of my 4mm beads here. And I'm going to bring them all the way down towards the end. I want to leave a little tail because that will help me with attaching my clasp later. So you'll want to leave a tail of about 8 to 10 inches or so. And now you're just going to simply tie a surgeon's knot to bring those beads together. And give it a nice little tug. You'll want this first unit to be nice and snug. All right, there we go. So now we have our little right angle weave unit with my tail coming out one side and my thread coming out the other. So now what I want to do is I want to reorient my thread so that I can begin my right angle weave. So I'm just going to go up through that first bead there and pull my thread all the way through. And I'm going to go across and then I'm going to go down. All right, so let me just set that down so you can see. This is my tail for my clasp, and this is the side with my needle attached. So now we're going to add the next unit. So to do that with your needle, go ahead and pick up 3 of your 4mm beads. And what we're going to do is we're going to go around and go down through that bead we just strung. And it brings us up to our next unit. Now we need to get our thread back to add the next unit. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue that thread path, and we're going to go through that bottom bead right there. Making sure our tail stays out of the mix. There we go. Pull that together. And now we're going to go up through that adjacent bead. So now our thread is coming out the top. And again, we're just going to repeat and kind of add 3 more beads there. And going around, and we're going to go down through. So you can see that it sort of just continues to loop around. And if you ever get lost, you just continue to follow your thread path. So if I get lost and I'm here, well, I need to know that my thread needs to be coming out this bead here. So I'm just going to go up through that top bead there, pull that through, and I know that I need to go down to add my next unit. So now we're at a point where it's just repeating, doing the looping all the way, and you're going to complete to the edge of your bracelet. Now I'm going to keep talking while I do a few more here because I want to talk a little bit about sizing. Now you'll be able to make a 7.5-inch bracelet, and I'll show you actually how to extend that a little bit if you are looking to make a little bit of a longer bracelet. But you're going to want to do 30 units of right angle weave. So that is the longest you'll be able to do with the beads that we have given you. And I'll show you how to count your units here in just a moment. So just very easily, just keep going with adding 3 beads at a time, bringing them around to the circle, and then just reorienting your thread. And down, there we go. All right, so to count your units, you'll just leave it out in front of you here, and you'll be counting along the bottom row. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units so far. So I'm going to continue the length to get the length of my bracelet until I have 30 units. And then I'll be back to show you how to jump up and do the row on the way back. So I have all 30 of my units woven, and now I have my needle coming out, my last bead here coming out the top, but I want to step up so that I can do my row going back. So what I'm going to do, let me just pick up my beadwork here, is I'm going to take my needle and go through that top bead so that I can orient my thread around. And now I'm going to add a unit on top, so I'm going to pick up 3 of my 4mm beads, and I'm just going to go back through the same direction of my thread. Go. And you see that nice little unit pop up on top. Now I want to give a quick note. As you can see, I'm kind of working with my thread here. You want to make sure that you have a good tension on your thread, but also to keep it a little bit loose because we're going to be putting all those rose Montees in there, so that will tighten it up as well. So just to kind of give you a little bit of an idea that you can see how floppy mine is, but it will come together. So I have my thread coming out of my bead right there, and I need to add my next unit. So I'm going to go up through the bead adjacent. And so now my thread is coming out the top. So now I'm going to add 2 beads, and let me just pick up my work here. Oops. There we go. So now I'm going to pick up 2 beads, and I'm going to go through the next bead on the next unit there, and you'll see this come together. So you just need to add those 2 beads. And now I'm going to go up through that sort of center bead that's right there. And now I'm going to go over and down. Because what I want to do is reorient my thread to add that next unit. So I'm actually going to go through the next bead there, and I'm ready to add 2 more beads. So all you're doing is just creating those units, same as we did before, but now we already have one of our beads strung because they're sharing that center row, which is this row right here that I have my needle laying across. So you're only adding 2. So, but it's the same way that we added the first one, and just keep following that thread path. Oops. There we go. Keep following that thread path around in those circles. So let me do 1 or 2 more here. It might be easier if I hold it this way for you. So I'm going to pick up 2 more and create that unit by going around through the next one. up through that adjacent bead there. And continuing to go around those units. And through the next one. So like I said, if you ever get lost, oops, there we go. All right, and you can already tell that it's tightening up a little bit, so you can rest easy about your tension. All right, so picking up 2 more beads and getting that guy. There we go. And now just continue your weave, and I will meet you back on the other side. So now I've woven all the way back through my units and added that second top row, but I want to address something here, that if you've modified your number of rows or if you've gotten your thread turned around, no matter what happened, the point is that I want to stress that you need to be coming out of this point in your bracelet to add the rose Montees. So wherever you are, you can come out through this top bead or you can come out through this bottom bead. But I need your thread to be right here because we're going to start crossing over to add those rose Montees. So if you've gotten turned around, just make sure that your thread is coming out either this bead here or this bead here. So if you've done that, we are ready to start adding our rose Montees. All right, let me just pick up my work here. And I'm just gonna put it down sort of in front of me there. So I have my tail coming out this side and my needle coming out this side. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to pick up one of my rose Montees here, and you'll see that they have a little crisscross pattern in the back, just like so. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna go and slide it all the way down to the end of your thread. And I'm just going to kind of show you this first one really slowly so that you can see it. And it's going to crisscross across the top there. And I'm going to go up through the next bead. So if you can see, it's coming out there. You just sort of lay it across the top. And now I'm going to go up through this bead here. And you'll see it start to slip into that little pocket there. And you want to make sure that, of course, it is facing up. So that is my first thread pass there. And now, because I'm coming up out of this bead, I'm going to catch the thread path that is in the rose Montee there, going diagonally through, pull my needle through, or sorry, pull my thread through. And now I'm going to go through the bead just below in the center there. And now I'm going to go down and add another rose Montee. So I'm going to pick up a rose Montee here, and I'm going to go across and through this bead here. So I'm going to do that all in one step this time. And you see it'll kind of just lay nicely in that little pocket there. Now I'm going to turn my thread and go through the rose Montee going up to the side here. Go through the center bead one more time, pull through, and now I'm going to orient my thread to come up through that next bead so that I'm ready to add my next rose Montee. So I'll show you that whole thing one more time. Go ahead and pick up your rose Montee, and you're going to go up through this bead here, and you'll see that rose Montee sort of pop into place. You just want to make sure not to get your threads tangled. So now I'm coming out that top one, and I'm going to go across. And through that center bead there. And I'm going to add another rose Montee to the bottom. And I'm going to go across and through the bottom bead there. And up. Give it a little tug, make sure it's secure, and then go through that center bead. And up one more time. Now this again could be very simple. If you happen to get lost, just make sure that wherever you're coming through, you're just crisscrossing through the rose Montees and working your way around the units. So continue to add your rose Montees, and I will see you back all the way at the end. Okay, so my work is progressing very nicely, but I do notice that I'm getting a little shy on my thread here. And if you get to this point, just note that you're going to need to take that thread and go all the way back through for our last pass, but I'm still not done adding my rose Montees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie this off, and I'm going to add a new length of thread. So I just wanted to show you really quick how to do that. So I added that last rose Montee there on the bottom, so I have my thread coming out of this bead right here. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle and go down through one of the nearest thread paths and just catch that thread, go back and loop it through to tie a little knot. So I get a nice and snug little knot there. And now I'm just going to take my thread and go back through one or two beads and go down. Remember to always go along that thread path there. There we go. So now I've just tied off my thread. So I'm going to remove my needle, and I'll show you how to use the thread zap here. You just take off the little safety and push the heated part up. Don't touch that, it's going to be very hot. And then you just very simply just zap off the thread. All right. So now I have my thread tied in, and you can do more knots if you want, just it's entirely up to you. So I'm going to zap off more thread here. Well, it'll be easier to see how this works. There you go, just very easy touch. Definitely put your safety back on. And now I'm just going to thread my needle one more time. There we go. All right, and now I have my new length of thread onto my needle. And all I'm going to do is I need to get back to where my thread was initially coming out. So I'm just going to go back a few steps here so I can weave my thread over to that area. So let's go down through this bead here. And you don't need to leave too long of a tail because we'll just zap that off anyway, so no need to waste thread. Go through my center bead there. And up. And now I'm gonna tie a little knot there. Just same as we did before. And just want to make sure that's all nice and secure. And I'm actually going to go down through my rose Montee here so that I can orient my thread coming up the right way. All right, and I'm gonna do another tiny little knot there just before I start adding more rose Montees, just to add a little extra security. All right, and tighten that up nice and tight. I'm ready to go with that one. And I'm just gonna go back and snip off. There we go. Snip off that thread. All right, so I'm back right where I need to be, coming out and ready for my next rose Montee. Now you can tie off and add new thread at any point. You can do it if you are in the middle of the right angle weave portion, or you can do it towards the end here. But I do recommend trying not to do it too close to when we're going to add our clasp, because you want your thread to be nice and secure in there. So I'm going to continue with my rose Montees to the end, and I will meet you back there. Okay, so I'm coming up to add my last 2 rose Montees. And I just want to kind of talk you through these last 2 because they're going to be just a little bit different. So far, it's the same thread path there. You just want to make sure that you're catching them properly. There we go. Through the center bead. And picking up one more rose Montee. And going through the side here. And now going up and you're going to go through that center bead there, but instead of going up through here, we're going to actually go back through that last rose Montee up into the side, and now go through the top bead and down so that we are coming out of this corner right here. And you want to be coming from that top bead. You don't want to be coming from that side bead there, because this is where we're going to add our clasp. So let me just bring over some of my seed beads here. And we have our magnetic clasp, and you can go ahead and separate it if you like. Oops. There we go. All right, so now what you're going to do is you're going to pick up one of your seed beads, one of your clasp, and it'll be magnetized, so just make sure it slides down on your needle, and one more seed bead. And now you're going to go through the bead that is just below the one that you're coming out. And go ahead and just orient your thread so that it is coming out. So this is how to add the clasp at this point. So now what you're going to do is you're going to turn your thread around by going up through the rose Montee here. You're going to go down through this bead on the side, and up through the rose Montee going to the other side here. And now what you're going to do is you're going to put your needle and you're going to go through the center bead, and now we are ready to add the final touch of adding those seed beads in between our center beads. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up one of our seed beads and go through one center bead. And now just repeat, pick up one seed bead and go through the next center bead. And this just adds a little nice little focal going through the center just to complete the look. So you'll continue to do this all the way until we get to the other side, and I'll show you how to add the clasp when we get to that point. All right, so I'm adding that last bead going through the center. And now I need to reorient my thread so I can add my clasp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and take my thread up through the rose Montee, around through the top, and down through the side here. And now I'm ready to add the other side of my clasp. So go ahead and pick up one seed bead and the other half of your clasp and another seed bead. And we're going to go down through that adjacent bead right there. There we go. And just making sure that it settles in there nicely. Just kind of, there we go. Perfect. And now, because I'm here with the other side of my tail, I'm just going to do a quick little overhand knot to bring those ends together. And then, just as we did before, we are going to tie off and weave in our threads. Just turning it around. There we go. Now just follow your thread path there through a couple passes. And all we're going to do is just go down, catch that thread bridge, and tie a little knot. And just weave it down into my bracelet there. All right, so that side is done. I'm just going to remove my needle, take the other side, place my needle on that end of the thread, and I'm just going to go the opposite direction there. And this is a good opportunity to get your thread around your clasp again if you just want some extra security. There we go. All right. And one final time, I'm just gonna go through, grab a little thread bridge, and come up and tie a little knot. And weave that down into the center. All right. So to finish this off, we are just going to zap off our threads or snip them off, whatever is your preference. So there we have our completed bracelet. Now I do want to make a couple notes about sizing. If you want to, when you get to the ends here, you can actually add several more seed beads before you add your clasp. So let's say you wanted to just extend it by just a little bit. You can do 3 seed beads, add your clasp, and then do 3 seed beads. That'll give you a little extra length on your clasp if you want to. So that could help with sizing as well, but you'll be able to make a 7.5-inch bracelet with the instructions and the beads that we've been able to give you. I really hope you enjoyed this video. You can find all of these gorgeous kits and many more exclusive Beadaholique kits at beadaholique.com.